after Garry Tonon improved to 5-0. Each and every time he competes in mixed martial arts, he does something even more spectacular. This time it was a heel hook. And the best part about Garry Tonon is that every single one of his fights look completely different because every time he fights, he looks completely different. It's an amazing thing. He's a true chameleon. Let's say hello to him right now. He joins us via the magic of Skype. There he is, Garry Tonon. Garry, how are you?
I'm doing great, man. How are you guys?
I honestly have never met an individual like you, Garry Tonon. And I like to say your full name. I don't just like to say Garry because Garry Tonon just sort of like rolls off the tongue. You look different every time I see you. Like, I feel like you look different right now than you did on Friday. How do you pull this off?
Yeah, for sure. I basically just didn't get a haircut for like 3 months, and then I just got one, so I'm not too surprised that I look a little different.
It's amazing. And like one time you look like Wolverine, another time you got the shaved head. It's just incredible. So keeping us on our toes. I like that. In addition to what you're doing in fighting,
so the police can't recognize me.
That's right. This was phenomenal. Heel hook submission. Were you going for that?
In a way, yes. I mean, it's something that we train all the time, but it's not going into the fight. I wasn't thinking, oh man, I'm going to get a single leg pull Ashigurami and submit the guy. A lot of people ask me if that was the plan, and I always say I've been saying lately that was like plan C, maybe. As far as what I thought would happen during the fight.
55 seconds in, and sometimes in this particular case, it's better for you that it happened early because he wasn't sweaty, right?
Oh, yeah, I guess. I didn't really think about that, but yeah, definitely helps a little bit with the traction for sure. Sometimes people are greased too, that makes it worse. Thankfully, I haven't had any problems with that in this organization, but I've had many problems with that in my grappling career. So, yeah, definitely a little bit easier when it's dry out there.
For this particular event, you guys were competing in a ring. And I still haven't been able to figure out, was it because there were some kickboxing matches on the card as well?
Yeah, I think for the kickboxing Grand Prix, they were probably trying to keep it in a ring just to keep it a little bit more standard. I can't say for sure. I do know that there are certain countries that they always compete in a ring. Singapore is not usually one of them. Singapore, they usually do it in a cage. I found it interesting that they did some title fights in MMA in the ring, though. Like, for instance, Christian Lee and Shinya Aoki. I mean, that was a title fight. Usually with the title fights, they try to keep everything standardized, you would think, right? So
right.
That's news to me for the future as far as how the title runs go and everything like that. But, yeah, they switch back and forth in this organization between rings and cage because they do put on other martial arts, which I think is cool. I didn't know what to make of a ring, really, until I got in there. Because I honestly, leading up to it, usually I try to prepare in whatever environment I'm going to compete in, but Renzo's doesn't have a very big ring. It's kind of small, so I didn't find it valuable to spar in that, so I've just been sparring in the cage. I didn't really get any practice in a ring until I got to Evolve in Singapore, so I only really got like a week's worth of ring practice. But I have to say, the way that it's done with 5 ropes, and the ropes are very tight, it's not as bad as I thought it would be initially going in, and I kind of liked it in a way. You get a little bit of bounce off the ropes that you wouldn't normally get in a cage, and helps with certain takedowns and stuff. I didn't really need it in my fight, but
yeah.
I could see in future fights it possibly helping out,
Okay, yeah, I was going to ask if that affected your game plan or your mindset going into the fight. I'm assuming you knew prior that it was going to be in a ring, right?
Yeah, they told me well ahead of time. They gave me plenty of time to say. They told it as soon as I signed the fight, like in the contract, it says that it's in a ring.
Okay.
So I knew going into it. We did do a little bit of prep here and there, and kind of noted some differences and things like ring control changes a little bit than as opposed to cage control because you can cut off the ring a little bit easier. So we went over some things for sure, to prepare for that. But I wouldn't say we prepared for it too differently. Like I said, until like the last week, I got a chance to like actually practice some of my technique on the ropes, but really didn't change game plan too much.
So that was your 5th pro win, all coming within like 14 or so months, all with one championship. How many more fights left on your one deal?
So I don't think I'm allowed to tell people that.
Oh, why? Why so secret?
I don't know. I just think that's in the contract that you're not supposed to talk about. Like, I'm probably the only one that abides by this stuff.
Okay, fair
I
enough.
read everything and I just do it straightforward. They may not care. I don't know. I plan to stay with them regardless. Yeah, man. Regardless of the terms of my contract, I plan to stay with these guys for a long time. I really like the organization. I really like the way my career has been going. They've been putting new challenges in front of me every single fight, and I really have no reason to worry about the terms of my contract other than maybe making more money in the future.
Okay, well, I was going to ask if you were happy and if they were treating you well. It sounds like they are. Recently, they came out with this thing, and I don't know if you've paid too much attention to it. This agent certification thing, where your representation now has to have 10 years of experience and live in Asia and all this stuff. How do you feel about this, and does this affect you in any way?
Yeah, I think it was sparked by some run-ins that they may or may not have had with some guys trying to do some shady deals with their athletes. So I kind of understand where they're going with this. Fighting is a weird thing, man. It's tough because it's not unionized in any way, so there's really no way to like fully protect the athletes. And I think this is their best shot at that. I see what they're trying to do. I also see why some people have some criticisms. I've literally just had my hand over the camera for the whole time. Sorry, guys.
No problem.
I see what they were trying to do, but I do see the criticism. Especially the thing about people having to live in Asia and stuff like that. I think people reading it as a super strict policy. I think I could understand. I think they're going to be a little bit more loose with it than people think. I don't think they're going to abide by every single piece of it. Because as it reads, it makes it seem like the organization is just basically going to pick their management, or could do that, based off of the way that it's read. I don't really think they're looking to do that. I just think they're looking to try to weed out, use some of these standards to weed out some of these shady characters that are basically just like stealing money from guys, So it doesn't really affect me much,
Okay.
They haven't said anything to me about my current management or anything like that, so I'm not too worried.
After the fight, you posted on Twitter that not only are you going to be known as the greatest featherweight of all time, you're going to be known as the greatest pound-for-pound fighter of all time. And I know you are a very confident guy. I never heard you say, and I apologize if you've said this in interviews, but I've never read it and seen you actually put it out there like that. Why did you feel like now was the time to do that?
Oh, I didn't. I told everybody since the beginning that I was just getting started in mixed martial arts, and as I had more and more experience, I would tell you guys more and more about how I felt. And my first fight, I didn't necessarily say things like that. In my fifth fight, do I think I'm the greatest pound for pound of all time? Do I think I'm the greatest lightweight of all time? Featherweight of all time? No. Those are my goals. That's as it reads. But I didn't even say that those are my goals until 5 fights in. Why? Because everybody talks. People come into my gym every day telling me that they're going to be the next, UFC champion. And they tell me about all these things that they want to do and goals that they want to accomplish in jiu-jitsu and things. And don't get me wrong, I want to know what my students' goals are. But, let's take it one step at a time, So now that I've had about 5 fights, I'll start to let people know what my plans are, for the division, what my plans are for the future in mixed martial arts. And I figured that would be a good way to kind of put it out there and just set it as a goal for myself.
So 5-0. 5 finishes, either via TKO or submission, all very impressive, like I said, in 14 months. Is it fair to say or not that this is going better than you originally thought, or did you really expect it to go this way, that you would be this dominant thus far?
Oh, it's definitely fair to say that this is going better than I would have originally thought, because I didn't know what to think. I mean, mixed martial arts was brand new to me. I had no idea, where I was going to be able to take it. And you see all kinds of crazy things happen in mixed martial arts, man. Sage is a great fighter. You were just talking about people saying things, wondering what's going on with Sage and with his most recent defeat and everything. And, man, one punch, broke his face in 8 places. And he's in a hospital for 3 weeks, man. Stuff like that happens. And it could happen to me in the future. I'm not discounting it. All my fight preparation, everything like that is to hopefully prevent that from happening. But it's a crazy sport, dude. So yeah, anything short of me breaking my face and being in the hospital is a great experience as far as I'm concerned. But for me to have these many dominant performances, and my most recent win being in under a minute by by submission, I couldn't be more happy.
And would you say that you're enjoying the process more than you expected as well?
Oh man, it gets better with every day for sure, because I'm getting hit less.
Yeah.
I'm learning the sport. I'm learning to defend myself more. I'm learning how to rest. I'm learning how to set things up a lot better with the striking to grappling transitions. So it's not. I don't have to take as much of a beating to get into a takedown. I don't. If I'm tired, I know how to safely clinch someone and safely exit a clinch, and like all these things that previously, when these kind of things would happen, if I would get tired or if I didn't really know what I was doing, every time the consequence is getting punched in the face. It's not like jiu-jitsu where you make mistakes and you just tap. So the training doesn't get any easier. Like I'm still just as exhausted every day. Like the training schedule is super super strict, and like I took 2 fights back to back basically in the most recent fight camps. So that's super stressful on my body, but still I just say overall training I think gets easier just because I know how to protect myself, and if I don't want to get hit, I can choose not to essentially.
Right. Do you want to keep this pace up, or do you want to take a little bit of a break now?
Man, I like the idea of keeping the momentum going. It's one thing when there's something 6 months away.
Yeah.
I'm definitely, there's a certain amount of motivation and dedication I'm always going to have, regardless of whether or not there's an opponent in front of me. But there's something about something being just around the corner, 8 weeks away, 12 weeks away, that just gives you that little extra push, gives you a little bit more momentum and motivation to maybe do a little bit more tape study or take your diet a little bit more seriously or exercise routine a little bit more seriously. So I feel as though doing those 2 fights back to back made me rapidly improve more so in those 4 to 5 months than in previous months in my career where there wasn't something right around the corner. So I like the idea. They want me to get right back in there as soon as possible. We don't have anything signed yet. They don't have an opponent named yet or anything like that. But they told me sometime within the next 8 weeks they would be happy to have me fight again.
You've been to events in America. I've never been to a card in Singapore and a lot of these places that you're fighting in Asia. Do you notice a difference in the crowd, in the way that they appreciate what you're doing?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think that the American crowd is always just a little bit more rough and tumble when it comes to, screaming things from the stands. I would say that basically, there are some Asian audiences that are a little bit more quiet, particularly like in Japan. But there's a good mix. But the one thing I will say is that in general, I see a lot less of the negativity per se that you would see in the U.S. Not as many people booing, not as many people, saying as many negative things as you would hear perhaps in the U.S. And I don't know. I know that as from a fan's perspective, it's not always meant as like a personal thing, but you still notice it. People with a lot of booing and even just during fights, not because they don't appreciate something about somebody's character, just because they don't like the way that a fight's done. You don't really see that as much with these fights, even if there was some grappling going on, and in the U.S. people think that's boring. They'll start booing and telling people to stand them up. I don't think you see that as much from the Asian audience. That would be the biggest difference I would note.
Okay. From what I understand, you're in England right now, getting Nicky Ryan ready for his Polaris match against Uriah Faber. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's accurate, man. We just flew in. It's like a 13-hour flight over here. Then I think 2.5 hours by car to get over to Poole, and that's where I'm at right now. I'm feeling pretty fat because I've been eating like an animal since my fight. So I just went for like a 30-minute run before this interview. But yeah, other than that, everything is going pretty well. And getting some training sessions in every day with Nicky, and just getting him ready for that match, man. He's feeling like a real killer. I was watching him train with Gordon the other day, and Gordon almost had a heart attack. So that's always a good thing.
And for those who are unfamiliar with Nicky Ryan, he is 17, correct? He looks like a 17-year-old, but he is a phenom, a prodigy when it comes to jiu-jitsu. His brother Gordon Ryan also, and I saw a picture of Gordon with Chatri Sityodtong. Is he going to join you over there in one championship?
I think Gordon definitely sees that as a possibility. I think that him coming out to Singapore, which is difficult to get Gordon to travel internationally. He doesn't usually like that, but he's going to have to if he plans on fighting with one, obviously. But I think the fact that he came out there and had that talk with Chatri means that it's one step closer to happening. He may even take grappling matches out there. Just like I did. I took one grappling match before I started my MMA career with one. So I think that's something to look forward to. Nothing's set in stone yet, but I definitely think they're laying the foundation out there just by having that meeting and talking to each other. I really think just in having a personal conversation with Chatri before I signed with one was one of the things that made me even more confident in the organization. He's a really unique guy, but a really genuine guy. So hopefully Gordon feels the same way. I'm obviously pushing in that direction because of my own experiences. But we'll see what he ends up deciding. He's a young kid. He's got a long career ahead of him in both grappling or mixed martial arts, whatever he decides to go with. He also just got injured recently, so he's coming back from that. I think realistically, if we're going to see Gordon fighting like MMA, it probably won't be till sometime next year, regardless. Yeah, man, it's pretty cool if he was over in one, that'd be awesome for both of us to be able to have the fights out there, travel back and forth to Asia together and stuff. That would be great.
I am fascinated by Nicky, just given his age and like the way he looks and the way he competes is just incredible. And he's going up against a 40-year-old in Uriah Faber. For those that don't know and aren't watching a clip of him right this second, in your opinion is the best to ask. What makes him so special? Have you ever seen a kid this young be this good at jiu-jitsu?
Man, it's crazy. It's a combination of things. It's a combination of Nicky's personality, he himself, and it's also with the addition of, I think, John Danaher's ability to teach people in a very quick fashion. I think you started out with some good working material in Nicky, because man, when I met that kid, he was 13 years old. He was very overweight, but other than that, like when you spoke to him, just mentally, I could tell that he was so mature. Like, I don't know how old I was at the time, whatever, but I was in my 20s, and I felt in certain ways that, like, more mentally, like the kid was already more mature than me, which was so weird to talk to like a 13-year-old and be like, man, like, I feel like this kid has it together more than I do. So, in that sense, like more so than any kid that age, you had a kid that could be molded into what he is today. And then when he started training with me first, and then when we brought him finally up to Henzo's with John, just the way that he teaches with the systems and the scientific approach that he takes to things, people just get better very, 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 very fast. You take a look at Gordon being an ADCC champ in like under 6 years, I think. Even myself, now I've been training for a long time before that, but you can see a huge change in my game in a very short period of time, in about 5 years, in terms of my submission percentages and everything going up. So he just has the ability to affect people in a very quick period. And then Nicky, winning a spot in ADCC, the most recent ADCC trials in a very short period of time. I don't know, Nicky's probably 5 years maybe training total. Again, same thing. But yeah, I can't just attribute his success to, just one or the other. I'm not going to say it was just John, because it definitely takes a special type of individual to be able to come into the gym every day and work as hard as he has. He actually dropped out of school, which not a lot of people know. That wasn't my intention, but that's what he wanted to do, so I'm not his dad. I can't make those decisions for him, but I have to say, like, for somebody who did that, it's not like he just was chilling on the couch all day. Like, the kid would come to training with us all day, every day, sometimes even come back to Brunswick and train at my school at night. So he's spending his time wisely working and perfecting his craft. And I think it really shows the type of dedication that he has. And I'm really proud of him. And I can't wait to see. He's already done more than I had at the point in time where he is. and I'm looking forward to him doing even more with grappling than I ever did also. Same as his brother.
Do you think he'll ever go to MMA as well?
Nicky right now isn't too ecstatic about the idea of MMA. I think he's kind of like me. When I see things like that happen, like what happened with Sage, and John will send me a video clip of people getting head kick KO'd, and it just looks like they die on the canvas. Like,
Yeah.
it makes me wonder what the hell I'm doing in this martial art. But I think when he sees stuff like that, he's not too interested in it. And nowadays, grappling is more of a realistic profession than it was back in the day. Even when I started, it was kind of like a big boom where professional grappling became a thing, that people could make money doing it. Before that, it was only teaching that you could make money. So I think he sees that now. I think he sees that he has a career in an area where he doesn't have to get punched in the face, and that's appealing to him. And I can't really blame him, to be honest. Like I said, I have the same thoughts myself sometimes with some of the things that I see in MMA. And that's why I train so hard every day to make sure to try to decrease that probability, because at the end of the day, it's always a possibility. Like we saw, just one punch. It wasn't like Sage did anything crazy wrong or anything like that, and that could be it, man. So whatever he wants to do with his career, I'm happy with. I think that if he just sticks with grappling, he's going to be one of the greatest grapplers on earth, and I'm looking forward to seeing the kind of innovations he makes in that area.
Well, congratulations, my man, on a great start to your career. It's been amazing to watch you in a little over a year do what you've been doing. Every time it's really highlight reel stuff, and this Friday was no exception. So I know you had to move some things around to do this, to come live on the show today. I really appreciate it, Garry. Again, congrats. Good luck to you and the team this weekend against Uriah Faber. I can't wait for that. Polaris, that's going to be a lot of fun. And I appreciate you coming on, and I look forward to talking to you again. I wish you continued success in your MMA career.
Yeah, man, thank you so much. Thanks for supporting me and the team. And it was a pleasure to be on. Happy to move things around anytime you want me on here, buddy.
Thank you.
Good to talk to you again.
Thank you, Garry. All the best to you. There he is, Garry Tonon, one championship star, 5-0. If you have not been watching his fights, you are missing out.